Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Christine Cannon, and I work for the International Youth Initiative of the United Nations. This panel represents youth from around the globe who are here to talk about the impact of COVID-19 from their perspectives, in the hope that we can all come to a better understanding of the changes in our world ushered in by the pandemic. I'll let them introduce themselves.
Bonjour. I'm Liam Lynn. I'm 13 years old, and I live in Toulouse, France. Toulouse is the 6th largest city in France and is known for its aerospace industry. In fact, Arianespace, a rocket launching company, has its home offices in my city. Can you believe that?
No.
My city? Well, okay, I guess not really my city. We live just outside of it, on a big family farm, where we have a small vineyard and grow a lot of other produce. We sell it at our local, town area, town hall.
Cool. Hiya.
Oh, hi.
Hello. I'm a Pawnee Hawken, which in my language means butterfly.
Ooh.
Wow. I live on the Hopi Reservation in Arizona, near the Four Corners area, where Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah come to a meeting point. Cool. I love living in the desert. I love watching the sun rise and set. It's amazingly beautiful because the heat causes the air to shimmer with color.
Whoa.
Oye!
Hi.
Hola! My full name is Ada von Varma. You can call me Adi. I am 12 years old, and I live near New Delhi, India. A beautiful city with uniquely styled buildings, with elaborate onion domes, like the Taj Mahal, one of the 7 wonders of the world.
Okay, my family grows onions, but I don't see how that can be a roof.
Yeah, neither. They're called onion domes because of their shape. They're common in my country, especially for religious buildings.
Oh wait, so do you mean kind of like a mosque?
Yeah, like that, only bigger.
Oh, okay. I get it now.
Hola.
Hi.
My name is Carlos Lima. I am 11 years old and I live in Fortaleza, a coastal city in the northeast area of Brazil. It's the 4th largest city in my country, but it's nothing like here in New York. It's pretty cold here and I had goosebumps when I got off the plane. We do have some big buildings over in Fortaleza, but the buildings in New York are so tall, all over the place.
Yeah, when I got here, it was pretty unnerving.
Certainly not like the desert.
Yes.
Ooh.
Really cold here.
Olio Taya.
Hello.
Tia.
Wait.
What?
What?
I'm called Dembi. I'm 11, and I live in Kampala, Uganda. I have a mom, a dad, one older brother, and a baby sister. Our house has 2 bedrooms and a living kitchen area. People think our house is very big for such a small family.
What?
Dad tells us it is very different from the thatched hut we moved from when I was just a baby. Kampala is called the Pearl of Africa because it is so colorful.
I don't know if I've ever seen huts for families around New Delhi, but there are often families that crowd into very small homes.
Well, as you can see, we have quite a cross-section of cultures around the world presented here. Our main purpose is to talk about your experiences with COVID-19. So I'm going to start and ask you what each of you were doing at the beginning of 2020 when little was known about the virus and it was just breaking out in China.
Oh, what was I doing? Well, I was visiting the city with my family. That's what we were doing. We were just coming home, and my sister had to stay for a job interview at Arianespace.
What? That's great.
When she came home, she told us a rumor her friends were talking about this new virus going around, and lots of people were really scared because lots of people were dying.
Well, I attended Kampala Junior Academy. After school, I would play with my friends or help my mom with my younger sister. Sometimes I'd spend my time painting some of the colorful, amazing flowers we have at home.
Wow.
Cool. Flowers. I was at the beach swimming and playing with my brothers, but most of the time I would help my family run the coffee shop.
Carlos, weren't you in school?
No. Down there, summer is January, February, and March.
Ooh, interesting.
When did you first hear about COVID?
Well, Dad saw some stuff on the news on his laptop and alerted the rest of us. Me, well, I didn't think too much about it, but the twins were really freaking out. Dad said it probably wouldn't last long, and no one in our government seemed that concerned. And it was just summer break, so we just kept doing the usual things.
How about you, Adi?
I was in school. I really liked school. I had a good life. I enjoyed playing with my friends. We would go to an ADA, like a park, where we would ride scooters, talk, and joke around.
When did you first hear about COVID?
I heard on the car radio. I was really confused and a little worried. There are a lot of people in New Delhi. I mean, a lot. If someone gets sick, it would be hard not to spread it. When I got a cold, my entire family got it, and my friends. I heard rumors about lockdowns, and I didn't want to be separated from all my friends.
I was in school the first part of 2020. I was helping my mom with the museum. She's in charge of the tribal artifact museum.
Cool.
We heard from it from our aunt who lives in Washington State, which had the first case in the U.S. Which is not good though. They started saying it really affected older people, and I was really scared, especially for my grandma.
Me too.
To tell the truth, I did not pay much attention. My parents did not discuss their worries with us kids until all of a sudden, everyone was worried. And that's all people talked about. I was confused and did not understand what was going on.
When were you first personally affected?
Well, both my sister and dad got COVID in the very beginning. It was really bad for my sister. She had to go to the hospital. Meanwhile, me and my other dad went to go live with our cousins for 9 months.
That's a
That's
long
almost
time.
a year.
9 whole months. Can you believe that?
No,
That's terrible.
bad.
The only time I ever saw my family was from a distance in the field. I hated not being able to hug them.
Yeah, can't believe that.
I hated not being able to smell for 6 months after I got COVID.
Ugh.
I got it the second summer, just before school started at the end of March. I had to stay away from my family for a while, and there was no beach time for me. I lived downstairs, and my mom would leave me food and talk to me from the top of the stairs. The doctor told me I was lucky, but I really didn't feel lucky until I read all the stories about hospitals not having enough room for bodies and stuff like that.
My mom had to shut down the museum. My 18-year-old brother got it, and we had to live. And he had to live at the museum for a month to protect my grandma. Luckily, he had mild symptoms, which was good. So then he could care for himself. The neighbors brought him food, so it didn't seem too bad for him. But then again, we were pretty rural.
I really loved school. And when I was first told that my school would be shut down, it felt like my heart just dropped and I could not breathe. I would be cut off from all my friends. I did not know what I was going to do.
My school got shut down too. And I had to go to school online and live with my sister and grandmother. My parents had to stay at work. My dad is on the security detail for the president. So he has to live there rather than go back and forth. Mom quarantined at the hotel she worked at because it became a COVID care center. And she had to stay. Our family was separated for a couple of months. School reopened and then locked down again at the end of May. It seemed like forever.
Addie and Demby just talked about their lockdown experiences. What were your experiences? Carlos?
Well, in May, the school shut down and we had to do home learning. I am not very good at the computer and would often get distracted. I could not talk to my friends, and I couldn't even help at the coffee shop. Actually, none of us could because they shut down. There were no customers. Dad was worried about money and was always getting irritated with us bigger kids and sometimes took it out on me. I was very lonely, besides my siblings, but I see them all the time, and kind of angry. It felt so unfair.
Well, I couldn't take violin lessons, and to top it all off, it was a bad produce year. My dad, Andre, had to look for another job. And my sister lost her job in area space.
Oh.
School on the computer was really hard because I had to use the work computer, which wasn't always available.
The reservation school got shut down, and Mom had to homeschool us until August of 2020. Then we went back to school, but all you ever heard was about the stupid virus. And how many people were dying, how many people were sick, and when the vaccine was going to come out. And when the vaccine did come out, it was for adults only. And some adults didn't even want the vaccine.
What? Like, that doesn't even make sense.
I know.
For 18 months, I was stuck in a tiny apartment with my sister and my nanny. No school, no going out, and we even argued about what to watch on TV or what we were going to eat. I was always outvoted. There were days when I kinda hated my sister, you know? Yeah. We fought a lot, but Nani got a little dog. And we could play with him and take him out for walks, as long as we wore masks.
So, what was your biggest fear during that time? The worst thing you could imagine might happen?
I was scared that life would never go back to normal, or that me or my family would die.
My biggest fear during the COVID lockdown was that I would never get to go back to school. All schools closed for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And lots of schools in Uganda closed and never opened again. Without an education, I would not get a good job when I grow up. If my mom or dad got too sick or even died, I would have to work or even get married.
What?
Married? I'm only 11. I'm not ready to be married or have kids. It makes me shudder when I think about it.
My biggest fear is that my grandma would die of COVID. I love my grandma so much. I don't know what I would do without her.
My biggest fear was thinking that this would never end. I feel like I lost so much time. I get so angry. I like to imagine that the virus is right there in my hands and I could squeeze it till my knuckles hurt and it disappears.
I was really worried that I would never get to see my friends again. And I didn't get to tell them goodbye at the end of school. My dad had to go to work, and we didn't even know if he would be coming home every day. We heard lots of stories about people getting sick, going to the hospital, and then dying without anyone there with them. I was scared that Nani would get sick. And die. And we wouldn't have anyone to take care of us. Sometimes I would go to bed with my stomach in knots, thinking about it.
Has anyone you know or in your community died of COVID? If yes, how did that impact you? And if not, what was the scariest moment? A real incident?
Thankfully, no one died of COVID that I knew. But when my brother got COVID, I was so scared that he would die, my grandma would die, or I would die. I was so nervous. Yeah, that makes sense.
My neighbor Elaine, her wife Anna died just last summer. We knew them both very well, and Anna's funeral was the only event we attended during COVID. I tried not to show people I was crying, not just for Anna and Elaine, but for all of us.
Well, thankfully, nobody I know has died from COVID, but when I got it, I was afraid that I was going to die from it, or I was going to spread it to someone and they were going to die for it. But
Our community all live close together and take care of each other all the time. Moms take care of each other's kids, so it is very easy for COVID to get spread around. My mom's best friend got very sick when she was very pregnant. And we were so scared that they were both gonna die.
Lots of people in my neighborhood got COVID, and a lot of people died. I didn't know any of them very well, but lots of them were Nani's friends. My Nani and Mom were sad most of the time, and my dad was angry all of the time. When my mom had to go back to work at the COVID care center, she was so tired all the time, and she would cry almost every night. I heard her telling Dad and Nani about so many people getting very sick and very scared to die all alone. A lot of nights I had trouble going to sleep and I woke up a lot.
The COVID scare started early in 2020. What has changed in your life now in the fall of 2022? How is your life different than you expected?
Well, when COVID started, we couldn't see grandparents for a while. Sports and activities either slowed down or paused. We learned from home for a whole year. And my family had to turn away customers that wanted to dine in the coffee shop. Stores were running out of everything. But what changed? Well, stores were filling up again. And my family was able to let customers dine in. So that's a plus.
Before COVID, I believed that I could go to school as long as I wanted, so I could get a good job. I'm back in school, but so many of my friends have not been able to come back, and some of them have to work. I'm a lot more serious than I was before COVID, and I feel like I have to work very hard, so I don't miss any opportunity.
I think my life has changed a lot since the start of COVID. A lot of my friends moved away when people and their families died. I changed to a new school because too many people in my old school did not want to wear masks or get vaccinated. My family is pretty careful about COVID, like most people in my neighborhood. But there are lots of people who don't trust the government vaccination program. I thought I would have the same friends for my whole life, but I only have one of the same friends I had before the COVID. I don't think my life is as good without my friends. I don't talk as much as I used to, but I'm not more shy than before. I think I got used to not talking to anyone during school time because I was all by myself. But my sister talked enough for both of us.
When COVID started, we didn't get to see any of our friends and family. My aunt and uncle wouldn't let us visit until we were vaccinated. My dads did not want us vaccinated. They thought we might get sick. And my family had to change the way we sell produce. Most of it's online now. We do wear our masks sometimes, but most of them just kind of sit around.
When COVID started, I never got to see my family and friends. And I was really sad about that. And my family couldn't work, so we barely had enough money. And toilet paper was getting really expensive. Toilet paper? Yeah. And now I get to see my friends every single day when I'm at school, and my family, we have family dinners sometimes. And toilet paper is now a little bit cheaper than it was before. Toilet paper.
So, all of you talked a little bit about school. Do you feel you've kept up on your schoolwork? And are you where you should be educationally?
It has been really hard to keep up with schoolwork and learning. But I'm really lucky compared to a lot of other kids. So many kids don't have good computers or internet access. And my nanny really liked to remind me that I was lucky to be able to keep going to school. She told me about kids who would sit in a row on the street.
What?
doing schoolwork over a speaker. And a lot of kids who couldn't do distance learning and had to quit school and go to work because their families didn't have enough money.
I'm very behind in my classes. It was really hard trying to go to school. Our work computer was only used for work, and so it was hard trying to get time to go to school. My neighbor Elaine, her wife Anna, was a school teacher, and she helped us a lot with school before she died. My dad's helped too. So did my sister. We used to make up fun learning games, though it was hard coming up with them because she could never remember what I was learning in school.
I think I've done a pretty good job, I guess. I'm glad my mom chose to homeschool us, because if she didn't, I don't think I'd be in the same grade. I think she really helped my learning, and I'm glad that she homeschooled us.
I did not keep up with learning during the time our schools were closed. We didn't have any way to continue school for almost 2 years. When we went back, the government said we should automatically start 1 year above where we were when schools closed. I don't think that will help me at all, because I really love school. And it just means I'll be done sooner without learning what I missed for 2 years.
Oh.
As I said before, I struggled with home learning in the computer, but now I'm right on track with my grade. Though, oddly enough, I did better distant learning than I did in-person school.
What changed for all of you when vaccinations became available?
Vaccines in India took a long time, even though most of them were made in India. Our government sent the vaccines to countries that had more money instead of using them for our people. My dad was really angry about this, but since he works at the presidential estate, we got our vaccines pretty quickly. Once kids could get vaccinated, we got a lot more freedom to go places and spend time with our friends and family.
My family was very distrustful of the vaccine and kind of tore itself apart. Like I said, my aunt and uncle didn't let us visit for a while. Same with grandma and grandpa. My parents thought we would get sick. They thought it would make us worse than what COVID had done. My heart crunched every time my aunt would call because I knew it would end up with one of my dads yelling at her.
Our family got the vaccines as soon as we could. Of course, Mom and Dad got it first, because it can be for kids before a couple months ago. I had to wait quite a while till I got my vaccine.
Vaccination in Uganda has been very, very slow. In September 2021, a year and a half after the COVID lockdown started, there were still only a few people who were vaccinated because shots are not available in my country. Many more people are vaccinated now, but it hasn't changed a lot for us. Many of the same things and take a lot of the same risks, or we could not survive.
When vaccines were available, I was able to see my grandparents and more people in closer areas. Our coffee shop was able to open doors to dining in customers again.
Good.
How did your family feel about wearing masks and being vaccinated? What were the attitudes about policies? I think you started to answer that question last time, Leo. Why don't you start?
My parents were very distrustful of the vaccine. We didn't get vaccinated until just this year. We didn't go out much anyway, so I guess it didn't really matter. I always kind of shied away when my sister refused to wear a mask, and it crunched my heart every time my family tore itself up.
My family really had to wear masks because we didn't want to get Grandma sick. But we got the vaccine as soon as we could. Grandma and Grandpa got it first. And because we didn't want Grandma or Grandpa to get sick. And then my mom and dad got it, and then my brothers, and then me.
Now, when you say got it, did you mean the vaccine or did you get COVID?
I got the vaccine.
Okay, thank you, dear.
My family was willing to wear masks and get vaccinated as soon as we could. The places my parents worked made it seem that it was the best idea. We were really worried that we would get Nani sick, like you, upon it. We didn't really talk about not wearing masks or anything because it just made sense to be careful.
We felt that if the experts say to mask up, then we will do what we can to help make everyone safer. Though people in our community didn't wear a lot of masks, and that was kind of a risk.
My family was very happy to wear masks and stay home when we were ordered to do it. My mom and dad lined up to get vaccinated many times before they could finally get their shots. The medical center ran out of shots so many times. When my parents stood in line all day, my parents had to take care of all of my grandparents when they died from yellow fever without a vaccine. They got the yellow fever vaccine as soon as they could. And now the COVID vaccine for kids 12 to 17 just became available last month. So I will still need to wait before I can get my shot.
Are you currently afraid of catching COVID?
As I said before, I had COVID very mildly in the summer right before school started. I was nervous it would get bad, but surprisingly it didn't. I was more worried I'd spread it to someone else not knowingly, and then they'd get sick.
I have seen a lot of kids get COVID. I'm one of those kids, but along with the other kids, I did not get it too bad. I'm also very worried that my mom or dad will get sick and die.
I was afraid of getting COVID because it seemed like everyone was getting sick. And lots of people died. Before COVID, I didn't really think about kids dying. The thing is that I was most scared of was making Nani or my parents sick.
I had COVID once. My brother had it. I didn't really have symptoms. I really only had a stuffy nose, which was okay with me because I didn't want to get my grandma sick. But I'm pretty sure my friends had it once or twice, and I couldn't see them for a long time because they had to quarantine. But I take getting COVID any day over my grandma getting sick.
Yeah, me too.
After my dad and sister got sick, I was terrified one of my family would get it really bad and die. Every night, I would lie awake in bed, and if I heard someone cough, I was so sure they weren't going to wake up in the morning.
Oh, Leo.
What were your emotions during the pandemic? Were there activities canceled? How long? How did you feel about it? Have you been able to do those things again? That's a big bunch of questions, but think about it and let me know. What do you think, Demby?
It was very sad to miss out on Christmas and birthday celebrations. It felt very lonely to have quiet meals on those special days. At Christmas, we would normally travel to be with our huge amounts of aunts and uncles and cousins and have a very big celebration. There would be music and dancing and so much delicious food. During Christmas during COVID was quiet and sad. We only had a little of the celebrations food we would normally have. My mom said it would not be right to feast with so many people without enough to eat. For my birthdays, we had my favorite food, Monzi. But we did not get to celebrate with any of my friends. I hope we will get back to normal soon.
We didn't get to celebrate my favorite holiday, Holly, in 2021. It was the last big celebration we had before the lockdown in 2020. And we got to celebrate it again this year. We missed out on so many parties and fun things that we normally get to do. Before COVID, I got to see my cousins every week. Even when COVID started, I didn't see them for many months at a time. I even had to miss my birthday for 2 years. My family has always done big celebrations, so it was really sad when we had to keep missing them.
In full honesty, other than the fear of COVID, I think it was one of the happiest years of my life.
Really?
Well, I was able to spend all day, every day, outside and not in a building. And there was so much less stress about chores because everyone had time to do them. In fact, even in the afternoons, we would go on our big front porch and play a lot of games. Me and my sister usually fell over with laughter. Though I was very sad that we couldn't take violin lessons anymore. We still can't, but I hope we can do it soon.
I love playing soccer. And even though it was outside, it still got canceled along with football. My brothers like football. I don't get why you always get hurt. But so I was really sad that soccer got canceled, and my brothers were sad that football got canceled because they got to see their best friends all of the time. But when COVID was done, we got to go back to our sports.
I was bored, I was mad, I was annoyed, I was frustrated, I was confused, and really worried. Activities either slowed down or were canceled or paused. We still got to celebrate Christmas, usually at my cousin's house, but as long as nobody was sick.
What will you tell your children and grandchildren in the future about this pandemic? What will you explain to them how you felt?
I would say COVID was a terrible time, and many people died from it. Like more than 1 million in the US. When I was just a little girl, I would tell them when I was just a little girl, we had to be very careful around my grandma because we didn't want her getting sick. We had to wear masks for a very long time, and it was really hard for some kids. And that's what I would tell my grandkids in the future.
In the future, when my grandkids ask me about COVID, I'll tell them how it brought people together and tore them apart. I'll tell them that the poor city kids like Audie and Carlos had to stay inside for months. And me and my sister were so lucky that we got to grow up on a farm where we could go outside in a small community where we could see people more. I'll tell my grandkids that it was really scary, but it was all okay after a few years.
Carlos, what will you tell your family?
Well, I'll tell them my experience with COVID and how my mom was able to take us to a store to show us the panic it put in people. There was no toilet paper, and I was scared I would have to use a sock, but at the same time, I knew I wouldn't have to. But also, I'll tell them about how many deaths there were during the COVID scare.
I'll tell them how I had to stay inside for months and months with only my nanny and sister. I'll tell them how terrible it was not being able to go outside or see any of my friends, and how most of my friends left me because they had to move away, or I had to leave them to go to my new school. I can also tell them how scary it was living in COVID, and how I never, ever want to do that again.
I will tell them that COVID was a hard time and many people got sick and some passed away. But many survived. And I will say I felt scared, sad, and nervous all at once.
This has been amazing. I want to thank you all for coming and sharing your experiences. We don't often have to think about children talking about being afraid, or children have to talk about dying, or how it impacts them or their loved ones. And that was very brave of all of you to tell the truth and share these experiences. I'm also very excited that the 5 of you got to know each other so well while you came to this panel and this meeting. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your time in New York. I know we've planned a couple of fun adventures for you in New York. And yes, it's a little colder than you normally experience. And I want everybody to give you a big round of applause.